Without further ado, Charlie Shrem.
Thank you, Randy. Thank you. So, I like to do these fireside chats, as I call them, because it's much better to have a conversation with someone, and you guys are kind of like the audience, and we're asking each other the questions that you guys are probably having. To give you some of Randy's background, Randy has been in the financial markets for thousands of years, and
feels like it.
And you started a company that was eventually sold to E-Trade, and what's interesting about your background is you used to train the traders. So
Correct.
you used to train the traders.
Correct.
What was the personality that you'd look for in someone when you wanted to train someone?
It would be very different than what people think. When you think of traders, you think of a brash, kind of an arrogant.
Like Wolf of Wall Street?
Unfortunately, that's the way it's portrayed in the media.
You weren't on yachts with, crazy.
Unfortunately, I was not. I missed that. But what I always looked for, the best traders, were people that actually had humility. It's never a word that you hear associated with the word trading. But the people I knew I could train were people that would humbly listen to what other people said, absorb it, and make themselves better for it. The most dangerous traders to me were the people that that knew they were right, just the market was wrong. I promise you all, if I teach you nothing today, the markets will always be right. And the more open and perfect the market is, the more perfect the information that comes out of that market is.
So that's an interesting point, because that's why I got involved in cryptocurrency, because I wanted to be involved in something that was extremely open, transparent, non-corrupt, and non-manipulated, and not a house of cards, essentially. And when crypto was like still, I was your age when I got into, I'm 28 now, when I was in my junior year of college, going into senior year of college, I was living in my parents' basement and found out about Bitcoin through an IRC chat room, which I don't think anyone uses anymore. And that's when I fell down the rabbit hole of it. So I was gonna not even finish school, but I had already paid the tuition, so I said I might as well finish it up. And thankfully I did. And I just fell down the rabbit hole. I started BitInstant, which was like the first Bitcoin company at the time in 2012, 2011, and like the rest is history in the documentary. But I had no humility back then. I was this like arrogant kid who thought he knew everything all the time, and you didn't know me back then. But I really was a different person, and I didn't really like who I was. Looking back at it now, I thought I knew everything. I thought, that my crap didn't stink, essentially. And it took like a rough year of humility training, as we call it, going through the whole federal process to learn what, that the day you realize that you don't know everything is the day that you'll start learning.
So, I saw a bunch of hands go up. There's probably a whole bunch of different levels of expertise within the crypto world here. Many of you probably are more crypto savvy than me, but there are a few that are more crypto savvy than Charlie.
Probably. I still don't get it. But on a scale, I did this in my previous speech, on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being, I always like to do this before every speech because you get a gauge for the audience. On a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being you've never heard of crypto, Bitcoin, Ethereum, nothing until today. 10 being you are Satoshi Nakamoto. If you're a number 1 to 3, raise your hand. Okay, if you're a 3 to 6, raise your hand. Right, okay, if you're a 6 to 9, raise your hand. If you're a 10, raise your hand. Satoshi's not here. Oh, it almost works.
Still looking for him.
Okay, so we're in a 3 to 6 category, and that's perfect. That's like the perfect molding age. Now I can mold minds,
So obviously there's a lot of misinformation and alternative facts that are presented about the world of crypto. That's what makes it so wonderful that day in, day out, I get to have an unfiltered version of the reality of the world of crypto. We all got a little bit of a look into the world of crypto regulation by the meeting that just went on with the SEC and the CFTC.
Yeah, it's an interesting meeting. They're super bullish, I thought. And actually, the commissioner of the Commodities Future and Tradings Commission, he even said, I am taking a no-harm approach to Bitcoin and cryptocurrency because my college son loves Bitcoin. It was his college daughter.
College daughter. She's a
loves
hodler.
Bitcoin, and she was like telling him, "Dad, like I love Bitcoin. You gotta like take it seriously." And I was just kind of like, "Wow, we have influence over our parents." I never thought that's actually true.
Unfortunately, I'm old enough to be Charlie's parent.
So in terms of like, a lot of people say like, "What is Bitcoin?" And there's a question statement. I think the question that we should really ask is why? Why are we here? Why did a group of kids in 2011 take this thing seriously enough to start writing code around it and to bring it to the cryptocurrency ecosystem that it is today? Why did we take it seriously, and who were we? A lot of us didn't really understand to the magnitude of the current financial system, of what is going on, and the issues with transparency. And I'm not talking about our country. Our country, in the United States here, we have a pretty robust, liquid financial markets. We have banking system. We have a small business community. There's help if you want to start a business, if you want to get a house. There are financial tools available to you. You have personal finance classes. We're all pretty financially literate, I would say, on the global scale, besides for some other countries. You guys sitting in this room are in the top tier of financial literacy. But it's not the same for the rest of the world. The rest of the world, they don't have financial systems. They don't have banks. They don't have the ability to transfer value. They don't have, forget just money, they don't have free information. Being able to send a message to your friend, a text message in some countries, if you say the wrong thing about the leader, can get your head chopped off that same night. And it's shocking, but it's true in a lot of countries. My family actually fled Syria in the 60s because they were very outspoken against the government settled in this country. So, I mean, it's the same type of stuff. A lot of people's family here probably left the same type of situations. But now we're living in a digital world, right? We don't have to rely on pen and paper. And cash is digital. So why isn't information digital? Why isn't money free, just like information is free? Why don't we have the ability to send value to someone anywhere in the world without having to worry about someone freezing the account, someone reversing the account? Why don't we have that ability yet? Essentially, we don't have something where what email did to the post office, like we need that for money. And that's where Bitcoin comes into play. It created this decentralized, peer-to-peer financial system. And when I mean peer-to-peer, I mean person to person. So when one person is sending value to another person, no matter whether they're sitting next to you or sitting somewhere all over the world, that transaction can't be reversed. It is private, and it can't be counterfeited. So the only type of transaction that I can think of that you can do is like, we're standing in a room alone, a sealed off room with no microphones, doors locked, no one can hear us, and I take a dollar bill out of my pocket and I physically hand you that dollar bill. Now the only people, that's a private transaction between me and you. Only people that know about that transaction is me and you. The only way I can reverse that is if I punch you and take the dollar back. But I'm not doing that. But now, how do we do business with someone around the world? There's no privacy. There's no way to really know that the bank is not going to freeze your money or take control of it or do whatever they want to it, or the government or whatever. There's no real way for that, and that's why we really got into Bitcoin, to create essentially censorship resistant. So it's impossible to censor, not just information, but money too. A censorship resistant database. And that's essentially, like, at its essence, what blockchain is. It's a censorship resistant database, whether it's a database for value or a database for information or a database for medical records or a database for anything. It's a database that can't be controlled by one person, rather the collective as a whole.
So one of the things that Charlie loves about the world of crypto is we all talk about it in terms of financial transactions, because that's what we all see, it's what makes the news. But the powerful pieces of the crypto world that are going to empower not just here, us in the United States, but around the world, especially in more oppressed nations, is the freedom of information.
Exactly.
What scares many dictatorships, third world countries, is that the fact that crypto can be a freedom of information that can't be controlled by them. You know, there are countries around the world, well, like you said, you know, you say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing, walk on the wrong side of the street, and it could cost you your life. It's actually inconceivable to us. But through a decentralized information platform where you could communicate the truth with each other, I said that is power that scares people in power.
Because think about it, we've always had to rely on other people to protect our freedoms. How do we protect freedom of the press, freedom of religion, just free to be the person you are, the orientation you are, the color of your skin, free to be that person and be treated equally? It's very difficult. You have to rely on governments or various other people. You don't really get to take those freedoms and protect them yourself. And software, the internet, gave us a lot of those freedoms. Well, the printing press gave us freedom of religion, essentially. That's what, after the printing press was invented is when the majority of the different religions came to be, and different variations of various religions, and people started asking questions, and the literacy rate went from 2 people knowing how to read out of 10 to only now 2 people don't know how to read out of 10. It completely switched because of the printing press. So that gave us that. So now this is like a digital printing press. Now crypto gives us freedom of religion, freedom of the press, freedom of speech, freedom of everything, because cryptocurrency, blockchain technology is not prejudiced at all. It's the fungibility of it. No one can say that I can't send you value. No one can say that you can't send me value or information. We can start trading with each other on a global scale without anyone telling us we can't do it anymore. What crypto is doing, and I know I get really deep into this, but I believe that cryptocurrency is going to eventually help to bring world peace and things like that, because the power of the people, of us, you read, it's like we all like each other. We're all friends. We look at each other as we're I don't judge you based on anything else. I look at you of who you are, what's inside. But governments and politicians, they want us to hate each other because then they have control, nationalism and things like that. What cryptocurrency allows for is all those barriers to break down of information. And all the financial barriers, you start trading with people in China and in Russia. You start trading with people in the Middle East. You start doing business. You start having conversations. You start asking questions. It removes those barriers. It removes the borders. And it enables people to start questioning. It's like, hey, why is my government telling me to hate that guy? It doesn't make any sense. We're all the same. We're all flesh and blood human beings, right? There's no reason.
100.
I really believe cryptocurrency, a lot of people are Bitcoin ICOs, Ethereum flipping, but for me, and I know I sound like the guy on the street corner sometimes, but I feel like it. But I really believe this is something that's so empowering and freedom, and this is the pioneer level. You guys are the pioneers. This is such in early stages. You literally can if you want to work in the cryptocurrency space, you can literally do whatever you want just by calling up a company and saying, I love crypto. What can I do? We met this guy in South Africa in Miami, and we're interning him. And I never even seen his resume. His energy was amazing. And that's what it is. If you believe in it and you love it and you're really interested in actually making the world a better place. I know it's so cliche, making the world a better place. But we have the software, we have the ability to do it, and no one controls it.
Absolutely.
That's the why. So do we have any time to do some Q&A?
Yeah, absolutely. I said, and that's what we're going to do, is that I wanted to, you guys understand Charlie's passion, one of the true pioneers of the crypto world, the Bitcoin and crypto world. I said, very few opportunities to kind of sit one-on-one and have a conversation with him, but let's open it up to some questions. And
what do you think is going to happen with U.S. taxes on earnings from cryptocurrencies?
So the question he has is taxes, and maybe you can answer this question better.
well, I mean, the bottom line is your goal in life, I hope, not your goal in life, but part of being a responsible citizen of the United States, of the world, or whatever, is to play by the rules laid out by each of the governments, where we live. If you're blessed enough to make money, whether it be in the stock market, bond market, or the crypto market, you have to pay your taxes.
There are a lot of really good accountants now that are learning about how to help their clients pay taxes in cryptocurrencies. Usually it's short and long-term capital gains. But if any of you are accounting majors, if you study it right now, 1 year in school, and you put that on your resume or something, that's a field that's badly needed in cryptocurrency, is people like CPAs and potential accountants and financial advisors on how to pay your taxes. But essentially, you should always pay your taxes.
And one of the great ways to blend, the current U.S. infrastructure with the world of crypto, which is a truly international, like I said, if they're accounting majors or whatever, like you said, if you can blend those skills with some basic knowledge of crypto, you would jump to the very top of a long list of resumes.
Basically, whatever your skills are, I mean this for any degree, whatever your skills are, it's badly needed in crypto. There's a lack, not a lack of, but there's so many talented developers, finance, tech, accounting. There's so much of it that's needed in the crypto space, and more so than any other space. So we're like, we need you guys. We want to hire you guys, especially if you want to start interning now, or companies will hire you now. And I'll tell you not to go back to school, but don't listen to them. So yeah.
Right here.
What's your thought on Ripple given that it's a centralized currency?
Why is the second time I've got a Ripple question today? Okay, so I used to be a big Bitcoin maximalist, which is basically a person who believed that like one coin to rule them all, it's only Bitcoin. And I've over the years I've changed that really drastically, because I realized that like Bitcoin shouldn't spread itself too thin. A lot of these tokens and a lot of these coins can do things really well, and there's no reason. It's like when I go to Starbucks and I get a bagel, I get 2 cream cheese, because the 1 cream cheese, spreading it on that bagel is too thin. It's not enough. You don't get to enjoy it, right? So imagine Bitcoin being that bagel, and I'm adding Bitcoin to do everything. Does that analogy work? It works, right?
We'll go with it. We'll go with it.
So basically, what I've learned is that it's a scale. There's fully centralized, like our current financial system, and there's fully decentralized. There's nothing yet that's fully decentralized, censorship resistant. Bitcoin is on its way there. Ethereum is on its way there. It's on the path. It's a scale. There are a lot of these, like what they call permission blockchains, Ripple being one of them, that essentially are, once you're in their ecosystem, you can do whatever you want, but in order to actually get in and out of their ecosystem, you need their permission. So it sounds decentralized once you're in the system, but if they don't like you, then they can say, you're out of the system. To me, as like a really, someone who's like, has a crazy ideology on this, I want it to be on, even if they're not fully decentralized, I want it to be on the road to decentralization. A lot of my friends were the founders of Ripple, and I remember I used to hang out in the offices of Ripple, and they're really smart people trying to do really amazing things. They're kind of going after a different market. They're going to the banks, who may not be ready for fully decentralization yet, and maybe want to be somewhat centralized still, and that's okay. That's the market that they're going for. So personally, I don't hold any Ripple, but I can understand why people would want to.
What do you think caused the big spike in Bitcoin's value around late 2017?
Very good question. What caused the spike, the epic spike, where it started going?
In the most basic sense, more demand than there is supply. I said the brilliance of the Bitcoin algorithm or code is that they created a finite number, and every 10 minutes a few more trickled out into the system. But there is a scarcity, and a scarcity of anything times a market demand equaled in that instance the great opportunity to see an epic run, a parabolic move.
From a macro level, there used to be just like Bitcoin and Ethereum. And when people would buy Bitcoin and they'd sell Bitcoin, dollars would go in and out of the ecosystem. So the total market capitalization, which you guys know is the price times the supply of whatever cryptos there are, was basically the combined market cap of Bitcoin and Ethereum and Litecoin, because that's all there was. Now with 2017 was like the year of the ICO, and the AppCoin, digital apps protocol tokens, Bitcoin and Ethereum became like the trading pairs of everything else. So people weren't trading in and out of dollars anymore. They were staying in that ecosystem, and the value was still staying. So when one was going up, the other one was going down. The whole market cap was growing really healthy as a whole. And we saw this epic correction. We saw the price go from like 17,000 to like 6, and now it's back at almost 9. But we needed that to happen, because you can't go up a ladder for 5 steps without falling down. You need to go like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. You got to do it the right way. So like you were telling me, and I was flipping out. And you came over and held my hand and said, Charlie, it's going to be okay.
Literally, no. But the reality is that, we saw a parabolic move in crypto. We saw, for the equity markets, the closest thing we've seen to a parabolic move in many, many years in the last 3-4 months. So I know right now there's a lot of market dislocations within this, the security market, within the equity market. And you're seeing a very similar type of price action. When you see a parabolic move, you have to get digestion. Now, if you get a parabolic move, some digestion and a break lower, run away. If you see a parabolic move, we're seeing digestion in the equity markets, we saw some digestion in the crypto markets, and now you're starting to see a nice base forming out of the equity markets.
Price floor.
Not to get too wonky, but the bottom line is that whenever you have moves like that, you have to come back and test those levels to see if they're real. In the crypto world, we're seeing, a nice basing. In the equity market, we're in the midst of a nice correction where we hope it'll base and break out of it. But those are, technical things that you see in markets, and they're very healthy moves.
What do you guys think about the pre-sale cryptocurrency? Do you guys have anything into that? And where do you even get, where would you even research something like that?
Pre-sale cryptocurrencies.
I don't know about that one per se, and for Charlie not to know about it, we're going to have to do a little bit of research. But, information and educating yourself for all of you. It should be, a nonstop job. When you're not playing your video games, I'm kidding, I play video games. But, life is always about educating yourself. In the world of crypto, there's so much information and misinformation. Continue to draw from all sources. And like I said, I talk about humility when it comes to trading. Educate yourself.
Randy, she's referring to the ICO process.
Oh, the whole
process. Okay, so basically what happens is a company will build a piece of software, and they will create a token within the piece of software, or a digital application, or Ethereum, for example, a smart contract system. And what they do is they create this token, and the token powers the system. So, for example, imagine a decentralized version of Amazon Turk, where you can pay to have micro tasks done for you, and you can get paid to do micro tasks. And you get paid in a native token of the platform. And you have this whole ecosystem. So what these companies are doing now is that they're actually taking these tokens and they're pre-selling a bunch of them to investors. Well, you shouldn't call them investors because they're not really like investing in the company, they're just buying tokens. Token holders, as we say, they're pre-selling them on the hopes of being able to use that money for fundraising, but at the same time, the token itself can then power the platform and they can use the platform. So they're getting the tokens at a discounted rate for taking a risk by putting the funding in early before the platform is fully ready. It's like a pre-seed round, essentially, but without getting any equity. There's no there's no security of it.
Right. Did that answer your question?
Where do you get access to it?
Okay.
You can sign up for cryptoiq.co. It's our research company. And we have research reports that we put out of the projects that we like. We should get a student discount we should offer.
We definitely should.
Yeah, we should. We will.
We got time for one more
One
question.
more.
Do you have a set application or platform that you particularly would prefer to use to access your cryptocurrency, like a Coinbase or a Binance?
So, good question. Platforms to use. So, it depends what country you're in, of course. Every country has different companies. Definitely use like Coinbase and a lot of these regulated ones to buy your crypto. If you're buying in small amounts, if you're buying above like $1 million, then you can go to like Gemini or one of these licensed exchanges. The reason it's good is because these Coinbase type companies, they interact with your bank really well and they can pull the money out and it's all regulated and everything. Once you have your Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, or whatever you buy, take it out of these Coinbases because at the end of the day, they are crypto banks. The whole point of having cryptocurrency is you can be your own bank. You don't want to have to worry that if that company goes away, then you have to go through bankruptcy process to get your Bitcoin. You're buying Bitcoin to get financial freedom. Take it out and put it in they have hardware wallets like a Trezor, Trezor, or a Ledger wallet, or there are various mobile wallets on your phone like Bread Wallet, Jaxx, JAXX, and a few other ones. And And these allow you to maintain your private keys, and you control, even if it's a small amount, it's more for like the idea of knowing that that value that you have, only you can control it.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks for having us.